In today's video, I'm going to be going over the annotation technique that you used for those winter Sundays with the Robert Hayden poem. But today I'm going to be focusing on only the opening 3 paragraphs of the short story A Family Supper by Kazuo Ishiguro. Now, you've probably already read and discussed this story in class, but before you write your paragraph responses to the prompt you've been given, which is a Q2 style prompt, I wanted to go over this annotation technique. Now, this short story is generally popular among students because of its intrigue and heavy mysteriousness, especially in the opening 3 paragraphs. If you look in the opening 2 sentences alone, it's very intriguing. The story starts off with, "Fugu is a fish caught off the Pacific shores of Japan. The fish has held a special significance for me ever since my mother died through eating one." Now, I'm only focusing on the opening 3 paragraphs because I want to show you that you can use this technique sort of as a chunking method in separating this short story into sections. So if we go by the 3 sections that we used for the poem, we'll scroll down and see that as the short story is put in the middle, I went through the opening paragraph and highlighted things that jumped out to me that were very tense and that seemed to present a conflict of some sort, a complexity, or a struggle that the narrator might be experiencing. So if you look at what I've highlighted, the phrases, "ever since my mother died through eating one," the word "fragile," the phrase "with caution," and also the phrase "it is not easy to tell." Now, looking at those highlighted portions alone, it gives you a lot of insight into what type of person our narrator might be right here in the opening. Again, we don't have a lot of insight exactly to what is going on in the story or with his family, but if you use the same annotation technique with prose, it's the same structure. So after I've highlighted, I'm going to make notes over on the left side of abstract nouns that seem to demonstrate that conflict or seem to demonstrate that structure. And then, of course, on this side, this is going to help you significantly shorten your work when you have to provide a response, because if you go ahead and make a note of the literary techniques that are showing that conflict, then you'll be able to explain how that technique is shown by the author in order to show that complexity. Because if you look at the prompt that you're given for the story, in his short story, the narrator returns home during a difficult time for the family. Analyze how Ishiguro uses literary elements or techniques to reveal the complex relationship between the narrator and his family. So if you can identify that complexity and you can explain how the author is using a literary element to do so, then you're completing both tasks. So I just put as an extra here that analyzing a longer text for something like tone can be very accessible because you know the tone is going to shift within a short story. And you can structure your body paragraphs based on the tone shift. Please keep in mind that a writer can use multiple techniques to exhibit a certain tone. It's not always one thing. It could be something as simple as just the word choice, but please identify that word choice as a certain type of diction. It could be imagery, figurative language, sentence structure, etc. Any type of device that you feel like a writer is purposely choosing to use, make sure that you link your evidence to that technique along with, of course, your claims and commentary, and you'll have yourself an analysis response.